Hey y'all, welcome back. This is Crystal, and I've got a book tag today. I just recently watched this one over on Michael K Vaughn's channel, and it is his original tag, the Astounding science fiction tag, and how much fun it was. I loved his questions. I watched a couple of other videos, and I loved their answers. So I said, yeah, I'm gonna do this one because I love science fiction. So there's 8 questions, and I'm just going to dive right in, all right? So number 1 is, what is the first science fiction book that you read? And what did you think of it? So I was thinking, gosh, I don't always remember stuff I read a long time ago, right? But one that popped into my mind was a choose your own adventure book called The Green Slime. And I remember loving this book, and I read it over and over and over again because, of course, it's a choose your own adventure book, so you could read it over and over and over again. But it's about a chemistry experiment gone awry. I just remember loving that book. So maybe that was probably what I would consider my very first science fiction book. But if I think maybe like my first sort of grown-up science fiction book, I read this as a teenager, The Stand. This goes into that question of, do you consider post-apocalyptic, dystopian, apocalyptic type stories science fiction? It's usually under the larger umbrella of science fiction. I go either way with it, but this is everybody knows The Stand, but I devoured this when I was a teenager, and I've read it several times since. It's one of my favorite books ever, so this would probably be my first sort of grown-up science fiction book that I read about, a post-virus world and the remnants of humanity trying to find their way. People know what this stands about, but those two are probably the first that come to mind of early reading of my life. Number 2, what was the last science fiction book that you read, and what did you think of it? I scrolled back through my Goodreads, and The Forbidden Stars by Tim Pratt. I read this back in December. This is book 3 of the Axiom trilogy. So I won't say too much about it, but since it's a trilogy, but the trilogy itself is a lot of fun. It's a very fun space opera series featuring sort of humanity has kind of spread out through, through the galaxy a bit, making their, kind of finding new ways to live out in the galaxy. And there's this other alien race that they call the Liars, or the Liars themselves call themselves the free people, the free or whatever. And they're really cool, like alien race. But there's another alien race out there called the Axiom, who are quite dangerous, and humanity has stumbled upon them. So our crew of misfits are, trying to stave off the Axiom. It's a really fun series. The 3rd book in particular was really action-packed, and a really good conclusion for the series. So it's just a fun space opera series. So Forbidden Stars was the last science fiction book that I read. Number 3, if you love science fiction, what was it that made you love it? Now for me, usually when I think of science fiction, I think space. I think space first, is my first sort of level of science fiction. And I think that's what makes me love science fiction now and continually and forever and always, is that vastness of space. I think back on, I was born in 1977, so as a kid in the 80s, loving Star Wars movies, watching Star Trek, just the possibilities of space and other alien races, and I could look at space all day. I'm in love with space. And I think that's definitely what made me love science fiction. Now, of course, I know science fiction is more than just space stuff, but that's what pulls me into science fiction is this endless possibilities of space. So that's what I'm gonna say for that one. Space stuff. All right, number 4. What is your... Okay, getting to the tough questions now. The tough questions. What is your favorite science fiction movie? How could you pick a favorite? Oh my gosh. As I mentioned, I was a big Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars in general. I don't, cliche. I don't care. I love Star Wars. Give it all to me. But when I think about my very favorite movie, my favoritist of movies, I think this is a science fiction movie, right? It's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It came out in 2004. Of course, directed by Michel Gondry. And written by Charlie Kaufman and Michel Gondry, too, I think, as well. Featuring Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet. Maybe not perfect, but an amazing love story. To me, this is a love story, but it is also a science fiction story because Joel and Clementine are in a relationship that has, maybe it's not going so well. So they both have decided to erase their memories of each other, and so they go to the place where they can erase their memories from each other, and they do so. But, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched a movie from 2004, they still find their way to each other, even after having no memories of each other. But there's this, sort of discussion about, would you erase your memories if you could? Do our memories make up who we are? I don't know. Science fiction-y to me. And I love that movie. I'm due for a rewatch, for sure. Number 5, your favorite science fiction TV show. I talk about what is a current science fiction fave. Stranger Things I love. Definitely science fiction. It has scary horror elements, but it's science fiction, of this plausibility of, I don't know, what you call this other dimension, right? That's science fiction all over. My husband and I really love watching Westworld. This discussion of artificial intelligence and their autonomy, and we love that show. But I think about the past, though, again, because I definitely watched more science fiction than read science fiction, in my early years. We were a big Star Trek house. We watched The Next Generation. My mom's a big Star Trek fan, so we watched The Next Generation for sure. I loved the X-Files. Again, it's a lot of it was science fiction because I did a lot of the big overarching story of X-Files was, of course, alien abduction or alien coming to Earth, alien stuff. And get spooky at times too, but loved the hell out of the X-Files. Still do. The one that came out a few years ago, they kind of rebooted another season. Watched that, loved it. So I just love Mulder and Scully. So definitely was a big X-Files fan. I love Doctor Who. Doctor Who was something I definitely remember watching as a young kid because it came on PBS back in the day. I remember watching specifically the Tom Baker Doctor Who because that's what was on PBS at the time. And of course, when they rebooted Doctor Who, I was all about that. I do love the Doctor Who, though I am terribly behind on Doctor Who. A couple seasons behind. Very bad at watching shows. I'm never caught up. Except the shows that I watch with my husband because we make a point to watch them. But anyway, those are some faves. It's hard to pick one. But let's say what I'm currently watching and what's a favorite is definitely Stranger Things. I love it. All right, number 6. What science fiction book do you feel should be read more often? I thought about this, and I don't know. I mean, there are definitely a lot of popular books that people are reading, but I thought about a book that I read just last year, the year before, and it's Anne Mccaffrey's The Ship Who Sang. Now, Anne Mccaffrey's popular, and a lot of people have read this book. Probably. But I think Mccaffrey's more known for her Pern series, Maybe not so much this one. This one came out. Let me think. I have this old copy that I borrowed, stole from my father-in-law, 1969. And I read this and I was like, whoa, this was good stuff. So we've got this woman here. What's her name? Helva, that's right. She was born a human, but she was born basically disabled. And in this world, the physically disabled are looked down upon. And so her brain was removed and put into a ship. And so she is now basically a ship. And she gets sort of a human person to like work with her as they go on like adventures of like all kinds of stuff. These missions from this sort of corporation that, I hope I'm describing this well, but because this is actually a very strange book. But anyway, to me, that the commentary in here about disability was fantastic. And of course, what makes a human is it just their brain. You know, if your body is one that doesn't work, but your brain does, are you still a valid human? I don't know. You could definitely run deep into this book, I think. And it's also just very strange. I would love to hear more people talk about this book, The Ship Who Sang, and Mccaffrey. Number 7. What is your favorite? I can't read my own writing. Your favorite science fiction short story? And I don't think Shampoo. I've not read a lot of science fiction short stories, but I'll talk about one that I recently read that really it's good. It's good, and it's called "Saying Goodbye to Yang" by Alexander Weinstein. This was in his collection, "Children of the New World." And I loved this story because it really discussed sort of artificial intelligence, you know, the autonomy of artificial intelligence. So we've got this family who bought Yang, who is essentially not like a nanny bot, but like a companion bot, I would say. We'll say that. And but then he starts to malfunction, and he dies, you know, essentially. Like he's not able to be like rebooted. Like he's just, you know, kaput. And this family, I mean, they mourn him because he's been with them for several years, but he's not human. He's just a thing, really. But can you mourn a thing? I don't know. I thought there was very good discussion about that. Again, about this sort of like, what is human? What is humanity? Things like that. Also some sort of race discussion in this movie, because Yang was a foreign robot from China, not an American made. I don't know. It was a really fantastic short story. The whole collection is fantastic, but that one was definitely, I think, sort of food for thought, and one I would definitely reread. So yeah, I'm going with that one. Number 8. Your favorite science fiction book. How can you pick just one? But I picked just one. I narrowed it down. I can't read by Octavia Butler, of course. Anything I've read by Octavia Butler, really? But this one just stands out to me from Octavia Butler. Of the ones I've read, you know, I'm slowly making my way through Octavia Butler. Because she only has so much. I've only got so many things left, but this is a time travel story, so of course that makes it science fiction, right? But we follow a woman as she's pulled back through time from the 1970s back to the sort of antebellum South, and which of course, as a black woman, not a good time for her. And we see her has this connection to this. When she first meets him, he's a little boy, and as she keeps getting pulled back and forth through time and having to sort of save this white kid, this white man, and how that connects to her existence in the future. It is just mind-blowing. And of course, discussions of race and gender. It's just amazing. I think probably the best opening line of a book, possibly. I love this book so much. It's so damn good, and it's definitely a top favorite book of mine ever. And I'd say probably be a favorite science fiction book. Kindred, Octavia Butler. And that was the last question. So thank you, Michael, for this amazing tag. Very, very good. I'm going to do some searches to find other folks that have done this one. And I hope more people do it. So tag your it if you would like to do it. I would love to hear about your science fiction thoughts and faves. And that's going to do it for me. Thanks so much for watching as always. I always appreciate your time. I hope you're having a great day. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.